we go. I learned during the pandemic, wait time in a Zoom, 3 deep breaths is about perfect. And if no one does it by then, by then they've found the mute button and everything else. So another component of this that is optional is you will see in some cases we utilize my open book, the Michigan Open Book Project. And the Michigan Open Book Project, I forgot to download the eighth grade book prior to this, but I downloaded the fifth grade book and it looks very similar. It's all set up the same way. Um, the My Open Book Project was a free digital textbook project that the state of Michigan helped fund as part of the Technology Readiness Infrastructure Grant. And I served as project manager of that for a few years, and we developed a set of K-12 books. And the books, the joke I made last night is you've got the which came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, in this particular case, I'm a firm believer that the egg came first, and my open book was the egg. And then after we released the books, we started hearing from teachers, hey, love this. This is great. I'm super glad that we've got this because our textbooks are falling apart. Hey, where's the teacher resource kit that goes with it? And my answer to every one of those emails was we had money to develop the books, but not the resources. And so the Giants project stemmed from Open Book and from that need to have a resource kit that goes along with some of the books. So we will reference the open book materials constantly throughout these units. We'll say chapter 8, section 1, or chapter 1, section 2. And you can use open book, or what's great about history is we're covering the exact same topics as we're covering the exact same topics in history class. And each textbook is going to cover those same topics. So if you have a book that you really, really like, you can ignore every time we say utilize open book. If you don't have a textbook, open book is here and it's free and it's linked directly in the units. And so it's all there. And it's a digital textbook. It's set up with questions as the guiding focus here. We also have a lot of interactive content that is available in the book. And in a lot of cases, we also bring it over to the eighth grade or to the Giants units as well. A lot of Dr. Gershmel's stuff is in both places. So it's another nice launch pad for that. And we do still update the books. So if you use them and something goes dead and it doesn't work anymore, there's a bug report in these books and they actually go to a real person. They go to me. I don't get as many of them as I used to get, which is either a good sign or a bad sign. But if something breaks or a link goes dead, just shoot me an email and I will get it back up and running, usually pretty quickly, unless I'm presenting. If I'm presenting, it'll have to wait until later. But a lot of the times, if I get a bug report, it's fixed within an hour. So just know all of that is there. And so we will also provide you, when we reference open book, we'll provide you some guides, some like reading guides to go along with it. So just know you are free to use whichever thing you want to use. If it's open book, great, that's free and it's aligned and you won't have to do any extra work. If it is your textbook, the reading guides will still work with a little bit of modification. So just keep all of that in mind as we go throughout the year. And look at that, I'm only 1 minute behind schedule. So with that, I'm going to switch over to the Unit 0 overview, which I started to do as part of the intro units here. So our first unit, as I mentioned before, is our fifth grade review. And we really just pick up with the Revolutionary War. And we pick up with the Revolutionary War by, in this first one, kind of, in the first lesson, the supporting question, so we're talking about through this whole unit, when is revolution justified? This first lesson is going to really get into why did the colonists decide to declare independence? So we're not doing a review of the French and Indian War. We're not doing a review of any of that stuff. If you need to backtrack a little bit further, you can look at some of the stuff we put into the fifth grade Giants units, but really we need to hit the ground running with the eighth grade content. So Phil and I and the original writers decided, you know what, a little bit on the revolution is really good because it leads nicely into the Constitutional Convention, which then leads nicely into the eighth grade content. So our first lesson has this activity that you're going to see from Phil in a few minutes on where do we put our colony. This exists in every grade level, and Phil will talk a little bit about the purpose behind it. And then our original authors had this stuff on vocabulary here that we left in. even though we do a little bit less with it in future units. And then we get into some of the founding ideals. So this one really gets into when they declared independence, what was their justification? So if you think to like English class with a claim and what evidence do you have, we start to get into some of that evidence. And then in lesson two, we really get into more on the specific reasons for separating from Great Britain. And so in this case, we use the analogy of a breakup letter, and I'm going to go through this throughout. I have even included references for my Broadway fans to Hamilton in the 8th grade units. So we use in these early units some callbacks to Hamilton in a variety of ways, which are really, really cool. I really like, I've seen some of these lessons in action since I added them to these units a year ago. And it still, even though Hamilton isn't the phenomena it was in 2016 or 2014, 15, 16, those years, kids still really like it, and it makes some of the other activities that we had in here sing a little bit better. Forgive the pun. So the second lesson really gets into those reasons, and we use the analogy of a breakup letter. And the third one is our mini Revolutionary War review. What were some examples of conflict and cooperation that resulted from the American Revolution? That's a really important question to lead into the Constitutional Convention, because we've got this period with the Articles of Confederation and it fails. And some of these relationships and things that developed here, come into play during the Constitutional Convention. And the whole theme of 8th grade is this can that we keep kicking down the road. That's the analogy we use in these units. So this one really gets into the Revolutionary War. We do a little bit of review on that, and then we're boom hitting the ground running with Unit 1, which gets into the Constitutional Convention. And I'm going to do a little rollout on that in a few minutes. But first, I am going to turn things over to Phil, who's going to kick us off with one of my favorite activities from all the units, the locating our fort. Where do we put our fort? Where do we put our colony? Sorry, I copied that directly over from 5th grade. So where do we put our, actually, I think it's wrong in the other one. My bad. I'm going to turn it over to Phil, and he's going to do a really cool activity on where we locate something. And take it away.